So the first time I competed at Miss Universe Canada, I was 20 years old, and it was my first pageant ever. I didn't know anything about the pageant world. So I had Indigenous designers that helped loan gowns to me, and that was like my way of showing everyone, you know, I'm gonna stay true to who I am. So everyone knew that I was Indigenous, and I was the only Indigenous one competing that year. And a paper here in Toronto decided to write an article about me, making a joke, and it was not funny. They decided to post and write that, what is she gonna do for her talent? Is she gonna chug Lysol or sign welfare checks with her toes? And I hurt because they printed my picture right next to it. And when you see it in print, it's like, is that real? People believe it. And then having people the next day like bring that paper and leave it out for me to see, people laughing at me, some of the girls. It was extremely cruel. I was being tortured online by people telling me terrible things and racism, threats, and I felt like, is this where I'm going to fall apart? Is this where they're going to get the best of me? And I thought, how do I move forward? And I remember all the media reaching out, trying to get the angry response from me, asking, you know, how angry are you? And I'm like, I'm not gonna give you that angry response you want. I said, you know, I feel sorry for that journalist. They're obviously very uneducated and ignorant, and they have no idea who I am. If they want to do their job correctly, they'll come to the show on Saturday night. And when I felt the most alone, you know, I was standing there in the top 5, and I remember I answered my question, and the only support I had there was my mom. She was the only one that could afford to come. What happened was they asked, who do you want to win? People were yelling Ashley, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And I remember I like looked down at myself and kind of doubted myself. And I remember, you know, keep your chin up. You belong wherever you want to belong, and that's right here. And then I started thinking I was going crazy because I was hearing drums and I was hearing women trilling and singing. And I thought, like, this is what I hear at home. And I thought I must be going crazy. And I kind of like look out into the audience past the lights, and you could just see so many Native people that were there. And I thought, I don't know any of these people. And that night when that pageant was over, and I placed second runner-up, and all of them waited for me. And they all said, you know, we all came from different reserves from around Ontario. And I am not from Ontario. I am from Alberta. I'm an Alberta native. So nobody came from that way, because obviously it's a long travel, but to come from the reserves around Ontario where I am and come and say, you know, we saw the article. Oh, hearing that, it stung. I was like, ugh. But then they said, we wanted to show you that you are never alone. You always have your people. Your people always have your back. And when they showed up, like singing and playing the drum, that lit a fire in me. And at that moment, I thought, like, I gotta keep going, because there's another young girl just like myself looking at me thinking, like, if she can do it, you know, I can do it too. What else can she do, right? So it's about really stepping out of your comfort zone, realizing like your self-worth and loving yourself for who you are, and having that support and knowing that like I'll always have my culture to give me that strength. That is what got me here today.